So now that I've ridden most of the new 2025 Indian Scout lineup, I want to tell you everything you need to know about these motorcycles. And the whole idea is to hopefully help you if you're looking at getting one of these and you're like, man, 5 different models, I don't know which one to go with, which one has the best features, what is this limited, what is the tech. Anyways, I'm going to be able to answer all of that stuff for you. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. Let's go and get into it. So the first thing you probably already know at this point is that there is 5 different models. So we have the 101, we have the Bobber, we have the Standard, Sport Scout, and Super Scout. So think about them like this. Your Bobber is going to be your base model, right? That's going to be your cheapest model that they have, and very similar to the other Bobbers before it. It's going to have chopped front and rear fenders, solo seat. It's going to have the lowest handlebars out of all of these, and it's also going to put you in the most aggressive position. I will relate it to a sport bike or an FTR probably, right? So you're going to be bent over the tank more on the Bobber than any of the other motorcycles. Now remember, every accessory in the new Scout lineup is interchangeable. You may have to add a relocation kit, for instance, if you want to say put the hard leather bags of the Super Scout on a Bobber, but everything is interchangeable now. So all of this stuff can be swapped and fixed and all that. But it's going to have a really low seat height, forward controls, and you're gonna be bent over the tank more on the Indian Scout Bobber. It's going to be a very clean look, and again, you can get this one at a base model. Now essentially your Bobber, your Sport Scout, and your Classic, you're going to have an option to go with base, limited, or limited plus tech. Your 101 and then your Super Scout are already going to come top of the line limited plus tech. What does this mean? Well, base, you are going to have no cruise, you are going to have ABS, you're going to have a lot of the features. You're going to have LEDs all the way around, including the headlight and all of that, but you're going to have an actual key to the ignition. If you go to limited, that's going to give you cruise and traction control. It's also going to give you all 3 ride modes, and it's going to be keyless ignition. And then the tech is going to be all of that plus the ride command. So 4-inch screen, it's going to have, your weather updates and traffic and all of that kind of stuff built into it. Now, every single one of the motorcycles is going to come with a 1250 engine that's putting out 105 horsepower and 82 foot-pounds of torque, except for the Scout 101. That's going to be 111 horsepower. Now, the Bobber also has that slam suspension, so while it looks really freaking awesome, it's something you want to consider. Maybe if you are a taller person, maybe if you have really rough roads. I live in South Carolina, I know all about rough roads, right? So you're going to feel all of that, and I'd say probably the bike that's not set up the best for any kind of 2-up riding. If you haven't had a chance to ride any of the new Indian Scouts, I'm going to give you one right here because I'm giving away a 2025 Indian Scout Bobber. This is my way of saying thanks for literally changing my life. That's something we can get into in a future Q&A if y'all want to, but you have. And so what I did is I partnered up with the same small veteran-owned business that I've worked with in the past to do other giveaways. This time we're giving away the biggest item we've ever done. Over $13,000 2025 Indian Scout Bobber, and the way you enter is simple. There's one link in the description of this video that takes you to Headshot Nation. That is our entire catalog of videos from both channels that you can watch at your leisure. If you just want to watch motorcycle videos, perfectly fine. You can watch all the videos. They're ad-free, exclusive videos, and early access. Plus, if you want to see any video that I can meet the request, I will absolutely take those requests before any others. And the price of entry is less than a family of 4 going to a fast food restaurant. As sad as that is, that's the truth. So 6 months of access is $49, and you get an exclusive download along with that, plus all the perks that I just mentioned, and more coming to that site. And yes, there's an app that goes along with it as well. The pool of entries and the time frame is small. That way you really have a chance of winning something amazing. A lot of times it's less than 500, and this one's going to be even less than that. So even if your luck kind of sucks like mine, you have a really good shot at winning something cool. You only have until September 30th, 2024 at 11:59 Pacific Standard Time. It gets cut off. So click the link in the description, sign up to Headshot Nation, and that gives you an automatic entry to win this over $13,000 motorcycle, which we transport to you, by the way, too. So all you got to do is put it in your name and ride. Thank you guys, and good luck to each and every one of you. Then you have the Scout Classic. So it has full fenders, front and the rear. It's also going to have handlebars that come back towards you. Now this one, just like the rest of the models, is going to come with the single-sided exhaust. It's going to be chrome, right? So it's going to have all your chrome accents, and it's going to be very similar to what you'll find on the original Scout, right? It's probably going to be the most different looking when it comes to especially those fenders and stuff. It just gives it more of an old school and, well, for lack of better words, classic look. Really comfortable bike. It's something you could add a windshield on, or you could add bags or any number of things on there that you wanted to, but right from the factory, it comes with that just very classic kind of look. You can get it at the base, limited, or limited plus tech. Now that Scout Classic is going to come with wire wheels. It's also going to come with 16-inch tires, front and rear, just like the Bobber, right? The Bobber is going to have cast wheels, but it's still going to be, you know, a really thick sidewall. Maybe not as nimble as what some people would relate with a midsize cruiser, but still nimble enough for sure. You know, they ride good. They got plenty of rubber, plenty of meat on those tires. But then you go to the Sports Scout, and this is going to, again, give you a cast wheel, but then it's going to be a 19-inch wheel and then a 16 in the rear. So definitely going to give you a little bit different setup when it comes to that. It's also going to give you Metzler Cruise Tech tires, which are fantastic. And then, of course, on the other models that we've previously talked about, you're going to get Pirelli tires. Sports Scout is going to have that little quarter fairing as well. And as opposed to the old Rogues, it's actually going to have more of a rise to the handlebars. So you're not going to be bent over the tank nearly as much as you will with the Bobber. You'll have a slight bend to your back, of course, all dependent upon, you know, how tall you are and all that kind of stuff. But it's not going to be as bent over. It's not going to be as severe as that Bobber. Now all these bikes are going to come with that redesigned fuel tank, redesigned console. You have dummy switches in the console, so if you want to put your heated grips on eventually, you can do that. You also have contoured lines in the tank, the fenders. You also have a brand new frame. This frame I've talked about in previous videos. I won't say too much about it now, but it is a redesigned tubular frame. Looks so much better than the old ones. So again, on the Sports Scout, single-sided exhaust, and kind of gives you a mixture between, you know, what the Bobber is going to give you and what the 101 is going to give you, which is the one we're coming up on. But before we get to the 101, we got to talk about the Super Scout. Now this one is going to be more set up for touring and two-up riding. I've already done a video on this. I told you my feelings over there, so I'm not going to rehash all that stuff, but this one's going to come with the hard leather wrapped bags. These are really nice bags, even nicer than I think what comes on the Super Chief Limited. So that's saying a lot because I really like those bags as well. Comes with a relocation kit straight from the factory, so you don't have to worry about this, but if you add this to a different model, you will, which basically pushes those LED taillights in the back further back just a little bit so the bags can actually fit. It's going to come with the passenger pillion. It's also going to come with the passenger pegs. Now it doesn't come with floorboards, which kind of a weird move, but they do have them straight from the factory already, so of course you could do that. Forward controls, and then it's going to have more of a swept-back appearance or swept-back styling on those bars, very similar to what you will find with the Classic. It's also going to come with a quick detach windshield. They've redesigned this, much better detach system there, and works a lot better. They did a really nice job with that. Same LED headlight, turn signals, all that stuff. And this one is going to come with the limited plus tech. So you're going to see more switches over there on the left-hand side. It's already going to come like that, so there's really no options there. It's going to come top of the line. Going to have 3 inches of travel, so you will have some preload adjustment there in the rear as well. It's also got kind of the bobbed fenders. It's got the taller mirrors, right? So more traditional type of mirrors, although they have fixed the kind of ball and joint so they don't just instantly fall on you anymore. But aesthetically, you know, the bar end mirrors I really like. This one has more of a traditional look. And again, it's going to come with those wire wheels, 16 in the front, 16 in the rear. Now, all of these motorcycles are single disc front and rear. They all come with ABS, but they're all single disc. Then we get to the Scout 101. This bike is just different all the way around. It's going to be the most amount of money, but it is on a different level. So we have a fully adjustable front and rear suspension, by the way. That rear, you have those piggybacks, right? And so you can adjust those reservoirs for rebound and compression. The fronts are adjustable as well. We have a quarter fairing. We also have a 6-inch riser. And so while you will have, again, a slight bend in your back, very similar to the Sport Scout, it's not going to be nearly as severe as that bobber. And personally, I like the riser. I think it is the perfect height. Yeah, honestly, I think out of all of the stock models, I really like the riser the best on this one. And then also, if we just get those bars, if I were to get those bars just pulled back just a little bit, that would be ideal for me. It's going to come with the Metzeler Cruise Tech tires, 19 in the front, 16 in the rear, giving you, of course, a more performance-oriented motorcycles. 3 inches of travel, 4.4 inches in ground clearance, and 33-degree lean angle, which is almost, yeah, exactly what's going to come on the Sport Scout as well. You have some special badging, right? You have some special paints, FTR-ish, or FTR-inspired at least, is the way I see them. You got a primary white with red accents, and then the other way around, red with white accents. It looks really freaking sharp. I love everything about this bike. Probably the most. It's got the gunfighter seat. It just is set up. It rides so freaking nice. I think that is the biggest thing for me personally. Again, single-sided exhaust, but it's also going to have 111 horsepower too, compared to 105 in the others. All your ride modes and all of that stuff, of course, is included because it has limited plus tech. Now, the models have some small little changes that I've talked about in a couple previous videos. You know, you have a little bit bigger radiator, right? They're all 6 speeds, right? Just like the original Scout. Scout 60s were 5 speeds. These are 6 speeds. A new 1250 engine. Of course, they eked out a little bit more in that 101. They all have 82 foot-pounds of torque. The headlight switch, right? The high beam is now moved where you can just, you know, hit it with your index finger, so a little bit more convenient. And then the ability to add all of that technology that we've seen in the bigger Indians now comes down to their flagship model in the Scout. So you have a lot of options, but hopefully this was able to help you out and kind of simplify everything for you. When it comes to comfort, I think my personal opinion now is going to be probably either the Scout 101 or the Super Scout. They're both really comfortable. The Super Scout, I'm kind of sitting back just a little bit more in the seat. The Sport Scout, I'm leaning a little bit more forward. So for me personally, I love the rise on the 101. I just want the bars to come back just a little bit without ruining the aesthetics too, because I like the aesthetics on the 101 as well. Quickness, speed, agility, suspension is so much better on the 101. It really is kind of just a step above. Now, your suspension on the other bikes, except for the bobber, is going to be okay. It's going to be decent. You know, pretty much I think all of them have 3 inches of travel, except for the bobber, which is 2. But that adjustable suspension on the 101 just makes it ride so much nicer. The 101, best suspension, rides the best. Hands down, in my opinion, it is the best bike. It's the most expensive, but it's the best bike. The Super Scout is really good. The rest of the bikes have a pretty decent suspension on them, don't get me wrong, except for the Scout Bobber. But they all have a really decent suspension. It's just the 101 rides that much better, in my opinion. Super Scout, nice and comfortable. You're kind of sitting in the bike a little bit more, which I prefer. Not as comfortable as a seat. It's kind of got the same tuck and roll seat with a passenger pillion. I do like the fact you have bags on this bike though, straight from the factory. Now, one interesting thing I found between the 101 and the Super Scout is the windshield on the Super Scout didn't make that much of a difference to me. I felt like I was getting just as much wind in my chest, which makes no sense. Absolutely none. So I'm like, man, I'll take the aesthetics on the 101 if this windshield on the Super Scout is not exactly doing that much more to keep the wind off your chest, you know, which is going to fatigue you more. But either way, that's just something that I personally found. And then once I got them both on the highway though, these bikes shine. They did really freaking well. They hold a line. You're gonna, of course, you know, over time be doing more correction, but if you're using this for like a commuter or bike nights, shorter rides, that kind of stuff, I think you're really gonna find that the Scout is now on another level when it comes to that. You know, at one point I was doing, 90 or something on the Super Scout, and it just did its thing. I was in 6th gear, and I would, pass somebody, and it still has plenty of power all throughout that rev range. Having that liquid cooled motor though too, you get more power out of a little bit smaller engine. It's pretty impressive. So those two ride really good. The Standard I didn't ride because it's going to be so similar to the Super Scout. I was like, what's the point? Again, the Sports Scout is going to be very similar to what you will find on the 101, except it doesn't have the suspension. So there's that. And then the Bobber is the worst riding bike. Now when I say that, keep in mind I'm judging it based on my back, first of all, and so I'm basing it on the seating position. I'm basing it on when I hit those freaking potholes, and I wasn't searching out potholes. I'm giving this bike away. I didn't want to do that. I'm just talking about simple imperfections in the road. That slam 2-inch suspension looks good. It'll make you pay for it though. A little bit beefier tires, a little less nimble than like the 101, but yeah, unless you ride them side by side, you may not notice that small change. All the way around, they did such a much better and cleaner job on these bikes, from the frame to the tank to the contour lines to the engine and all of the features and options, which are great. It just can be really confusing. So I hope that this gave you just my opinion and some direction on the new Scout series. You may say, man, you're dumping all over the Scout Bobber. Well, I'm giving one of these away. So if you end up being the winner of this motorcycle, you can do whatever the heck you want to with it. Upgrade the suspension, which is really one of the only things it needs, plus the risers from the 101. That's about what it needs, okay? It's an awesome motorcycle. Click the link in the description of this video, get signed up for Headshot Nation, and win this thing. Take it home. Everything's going to be on us, including transport. So all you got to do is put it in your name, insure it, ride it, and that is it. So good luck to every single one of you, and thank you for everything you do for my family, because without you, I wouldn't have this opportunity to do this. Big thanks to you guys. Make sure you leave your opinion of the new Scout series down in the comment section below, no matter if you agree or disagree. Big thanks to you guys. See you in the next one. And as always, hold them down.